Hey everyone, Scott from Yunnan Sourcing. I had some requests to just kind of show how I brew tea. Um, so I'm going to give you a little rundown. Going through a bunch of autumn Mao Cha raw pu'er samples that we got. Um, you can see there's a ton right there, probably, I don't know, 50 or so. We already made some choices on some, but we're going to drink some more. So, I do like to weigh the tea, and I'm also going to be drinking these teas over here blind. So I picked four teas that I want to that are similar, and I want to choose maybe one of them. But again, I don't have to choose any of them. So I put them there, and the name of the tea is facing the other way. So I'm going to drink the first one right now. I'm going to go ahead and take the first one, and I'm not going to look at it because I don't want to be influenced by the name or the price, because I've kind of looked at all the prices of the different growers, the Mao Cha that we got. And this guy one's probably about 150 ml. I'm going to use about 6.5, 6.7, 6.5. Again, not looking at the bag. I just want to be as unbiased as possible. So, I had to turn off the music, which is a real bummer. I don't want YouTube to decide that I'm, doing some kind of copyright infringement. So, if I don't get my groove on during this session, you'll know why. I hate silence. Actually, I like it, just not when I'm drinking tea. I like music most of the time. I find the synergy of music and tea just really works great together. I mean, they just seem to enhance each other so much. So keep a really short wash there, probably about just over 10 seconds, maybe slightly more. And I'm actually going to drink the wash here. I'm probably going to use 2 cups here, and I notice the high pour. And the reason that I sometimes use 2 cups is because when the tea's really hot, I just want to cool it down so I can, I have so many teas to drink, and it's kind of, unfortunately, it's down to how fast I can drink them, because I got to make choices. And in the case of a lot of Mao Cha that we sell, that we get from growers, there's a lot of competition, so we really have to make a choice pretty fast. So again, I'm going to smell this. There's not much. The first infusion is a little bit watery, a little bit thin, but it's good to drink the first infusion for Mao Cha, especially when you're evaluating it and you're trying to decide, because sometimes there can be little hints in the first steeping in the wash. So I do like to drink that. Yeah, so actually we're going to drink, I'm going to drink. I'm going to drink 4 Yiwu area teas, and all Gushu Cha, all old tree Yiwu tea from this autumn. And the first one is unknown. But that's not really the point. I'm not going to evaluate this tea so much, or we're not going to have time to go through all these teas in the video. But, just to give you a little idea of, my setup, how I brew tea. I am back in the USA now. I've been back for, I guess, about 5 days now. And my wife is still over there kind of just finishing up stuff. She'll be back in not too long. Trying to get a little lunch taste out of my mouth. The other thing that especially when I'm drinking teas, I don't eat any garlic at all. I don't eat any garlic or any kind of like, sauerkraut or just really like super pungent. I do eat a little bit spicy. Probably shouldn't, but if I don't have garlic, then there's really makes food boring. So this is good. This has got a really, fresh grass, Cao Qingwei taste, which is really really present in a lot of Mao Cha. I mean, that you figure this Mao Cha was probably. I mean, this is processed probably about just right after National Day or right on National Day, so right around October 1st, or the first few days of October, most of these. September Mao Cha was much too, in most areas, was much too rainy. So we really avoided like even late September stuff this year because of that. Kind of drinking the other cup. It just gives it more time to cool down. And I'll go back and forth with these two cups just to cool it down. It looks like I'm making Indian milk tea or something, but I'm not. It's funny because somebody in the last video said, "You're bald." They sent me a message. I just have a shaved head. I'm not actually bald. My dad is bald. So again, the high pour, trying to cool it down. And I do like to smell the leaves, but I really get more of a smell from the lid of the gaiwan than I do from the leaves themselves. Plus, when the leaves are so hot, you're just like, you kind of almost burn your nostrils with the steam. Yeah, so this tea definitely has a little bit of a watery taste, and that's because it's so fresh. There's still a lot of water like locked into the tea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these bags open and maybe try them again in a couple of days, and maybe that wateriness will leave. And it also is I think it's also because of the weather this year, particularly wet, even though it has dried out now in Yiwu and some other places. The ground is quite wet, so the leaves have quite a bit of really all Mao Cha has moisture in it after processing, but I think this year and this autumn particularly a lot. Didn't do the high pour there. This is good. Unfortunately, I feel like the leaf on this one is there's a little bit of yellow. Not all the leaves are like a dark olive green. It's definitely is gushu cha, but again, it's not the most perfect example in terms of the leaf, in terms of the integrity of the leaf and things like that. Although it's not a bad tea, it doesn't have any obviously serious processing problems. There's not a lot of little burnt leaves as often there are. Actually, as you see, I'm not using a strainer. You probably can't see this. There's a little bit of stuff floating around in there, but there's not a lot of black specks. And a lot of times, the smokiness that you'll taste in tea is from the black specks in the tea, which is because the leaf has actually been burned during the frying process. Another reason that you'll get smokiness in pu'er is because when they're doing the frying, they'll often they need a source of heat. It's usually wood, and it's usually a fire underneath the wok. Usually it's a fixed wok and kind of a a stove underneath where you put wood into it. But a lot of teas are done actually out in the field because they don't have enough time to bring the tea leaves back into town or wherever they would have more of a fixed place to do the processing. They just don't have time. If they wait too long, the tea will wilt, and then it'll be very reddish, more tending towards black tea. So what they do is they'll bring a wok out there and they'll build a fire and they'll do the frying. They'll do like the first processing there, or even in the entire processing all the way up to sun drying. They'll do out in the in a very primitive kind of place because it's not practical for them to go back into town. So because of that, imagine you're building a wood fire and you just put a big wok over it and you're frying tea. Well, guess what's happening? That smoke is coming into the wok and it's just going right into the tea. So sometimes when you notice smokiness, that's one of the reasons. One of the other reasons is the leaves will get a little bit burnt. That's more of like a caramel smokiness with a little bit of a burnt taste. So there's two reasons for smokiness, and those are them. So I'm pushing it a little bit here. It's not just me talking. I'm trying to see where I can push this tea. While I do find this tea is pretty good, and it's from a good source, I'm not blown away by it, which is good because if you're blown away by every tea that you drink, then how can you choose? And you have to question, what's wrong with me if every tea that I drink is awesome? It's not like that at all. But through the years, as we've developed our contacts through people, growers and others who deal in Mao Cha, we really weeded out the people who send us just garbage, either overpriced or just bullshit tea or poorly processed tea. We managed to weed most of those people out. So now most of the sources that we deal with and the growers that we deal with, generally they send us good tea, or if we go down there and we visit the area. I visited pretty much all of these villages that I've gotten samples from, but I don't visit them every year. It's just not practical. This infusion's good, and it's the bitterness is coming out, and it's bitterness, not astringency. This is definitely one of those Iwu large leaf varietals, because it has that kind of strong bitterness to it. My guess is it's Walong, but it might not be. There's a lot of similar style, similar kind of profiles. If it's Walong, it's definitely not nearly as good as the spring, So actually, let's check it out. Let's see, because I knew Walong was one of the four, and that would be my guess. But there's also a sample of Mao Cha in there from a village that I'm not familiar with. So let's see. No, I was wrong. This is Yao Ding. It's not bad. I think I'm going to go back to it. It's strong. It's just got this watery taste, and I think if I leave the bag open for a couple more days, a lot of that's going to escape. But it is showing itself. It's showing a little bit of character now. So anyways, yeah. Can't always be right.